Now the election back and I'll die away. In short, this is what I have to say. Let us forget fights and grudges and concentrate. Come, let us sit and try to relate. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, let us build a nation together. Oh.
Good afternoon, sisters, family, and friends. Good afternoon. As you come up, I just want to encourage you to share the live. Remember, if you haven't done it, I encourage you to subscribe so every time we come up, we get the notification. Bless good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to send out some love to Seagrass, Irene, both ladies and the cat.
To success is working hard.
Send out some love to people
for our country. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And I want to progress visually.
Family, remember the
because
number to call. It's a WhatsApp number. The number is 3240844. I just want to wish you a blessed good afternoon. So when I hear Princess come, when I hear Paro, when I hear Paro, with the being sour, when I hear Barataria, when I hear Saparia, wherever you are in beautiful Trinidad and Tobago, and I want to Tobago, when I hear Black Castara, Roxborough, wherever you are this afternoon. Let's go afternoon to your family. Let's go afternoon to you from the good afternoon to each and every one of the brothers and sisters that bless good afternoon to you. Bless good afternoon to Facebook family. I hope you got some brothers and sisters that checking in from TikTok. Bless good afternoon. I want to send out some love to my lovely wife and children. Bless good afternoon,
things that we need to see.
Bless good afternoon to the children.
Surely I do have to spell them out. Because you know as well as I do, the only way is putting more effort and less play.
I want to say good afternoon, Mr. Paria. Good afternoon, Mr. Boners. Sealots, ladies and gentlemen, Diego Martin East, Diego Martin West, whether you're from Chabonas, bless good afternoon to you. You could be from Maruga, Coco, Mansalina. Bless good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. We must send some love to Guyana. We must send some love to Barbados, to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We must send some love to Grenada. Bless good afternoon to Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis. Bless good afternoon, British Virgin Island. Here we have some brothers and sisters. We must send some love to Toronto. Bless good afternoon, Canada. Bless good afternoon, England. Amsterdam, whether you're from Tokyo, you're not in Baghdad. Bless good afternoon to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, bless good afternoon to you. We must send out some love to Long Island, bless good afternoon to you. Queens, the Bronx, want to send out some love to my lovely mother down in Georgia. Bless good afternoon to my stepfather. Speedy recovery.
Who want to live in a foreign land?
I must send out some love to you, the viewers, the listeners. Bless good afternoon. I hope you will be on work. Sometimes you're just listening, so I just say that bless good afternoon to you. Whether you're on the highway or the byway, I want to encourage you to the Nation Roadway. Please keep your two hands on the wheel. Put it on speaker. Brothers and sisters, whether you're in transit, you might be in a transportation waiting to come home. Whatever it is you're doing this afternoon, I just want to say a bless good afternoon to you. I must say a good afternoon to the UNC family, coalition. Bless good afternoon. Good afternoon to the Honorable Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. I want to send out some love to each and every representing factor under that forms of cabinet, every senator, every independent senator. We're sending out some love to the councillors, we're sending out some love to every representative. So to the brothers and sisters belong to the people, yes, that's what I have to do today. We're sending out some love. I don't understand why it's always breaking up, but we'll get it right probably because we had the big money to get the relevant things. Because really and truly I've been to the what is taking place is actually the Felix family. I must thank Mr. Richard, and I thank Mr. Seagan, I must thank our parliament along the way, even Mr. Gerard Plenty, but again, this is really being pushed heavily by our family. So again, when you're doing this, you have to like 3 or 4 different internet access that goes with business. So as people, brothers and sisters, been here with us, so we know how to purchase the right thing. So as you relevant sponsors, as you relevant support from, we put the adequate structure in place so the good brother and sister do have the experience. That's a good question. Why are you showing on this video? That's a good question. So ladies and gentlemen, that thing that we have to go in place. So as we discuss moving forward, I let you know what has to be done. We do a little promotion to the people invite us. We can do a little power. We have little package and things. We have things that we're dealing with. We just have to interact with each other, man. Because again, possibilities to make sure that you have a clean and a proper program. You will get it right. We have days we just get it right. But to do this thing properly, you need a heavy structure. That comes at a cost. So, brothers and sisters, those of you who are interested, thank you, David, for asking the question, and blessed good afternoon to you at the same time. So I say now blessed good afternoon to each and every one of our brothers and sisters. Oh, look, we done. Let me answer this call here. Right. Blessed good afternoon, caller.
Oh, man.
What's going on?
That girl on the station, boy.
I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, but I'm not saying you're on the station.
Oh, well, I want now saying there, now explaining to somebody what happened is while I doing this, you normally supposed to have about 3 or 4 internet direct access now. I only have one. Because I might fit in the bill by myself. So as things move along, people go understand, so the relevant support will come on.
We need to get you that work up. Did you leave it or did you get fired? You don't get you work.
Did you get fired already? What kind of thing is that? But what's going on? We come to have a show. Let me start the show now, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? How you doing?
To me, I did, man.
All right. How you feeling today? We're here for the day. Where's the vibes today out there? What going on?
Juju.
Huh?
Munira bring a case against Juju and she doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
So we pay him $500,000 and we should be working the rest should go.
Yeah.
We were on a station in the evening time, 7 o'clock. In last 2 weeks.
But I not really with vibes, huh? But tell us, huh?
No, let me tell you something, partner. You didn't see Karma take it. It's a hell of a thing, you know.
Yeah.
Then me so she and after that call Aruka had a show. And he didn't have a thing in say about Karma, you know. And I tell people, you know.
Yeah.
I say when you see Karma come back to them, people go be sorry for them and so done, you know.
That is exactly what's going on.
Yeah, people doesn't understand that. They can't drag innocent people.
Correct me if I'm wrong too. And when Krokro got himself tied up, when Krokro made a statement, it wasn't on her program.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. That's one of the things she gets in trouble for too.
You see?
The next one, one of the search engine name. He taken front now, he backing up himself and telling people not to go and doesn't matter my show for me to get in trouble. I said, look at this man, he went the day before boy, and followed little Jaden thing and making a mockery of the child. Last night the child went on Wall Street show the mother.
Yeah.
And say they wasn't ill treated or nothing by nobody. Right? So the boy says so he said proud to be the Prime Minister of India. And these individuals making a mockery of the little child. And the child know nothing more than doing.
That is because everything for them is politics. Them don't care about the people who just don't care about politics. It's that people who just concerned about Trinidad and Tobago. And a lot of us understand what's going on. So meeting the Prime Minister of India is a privilege.
And the customers who think, boy, I don't know these people that have had a mother.
Brother, while them was on the rant, while they were on the rant, and Trinidad and Tobago citizens started supporting them without looking at the video properly. We came up on 6 television and we told people, if you look at the video, the young African boy, now mind me, the Prime Minister of India touched land. And these children were lined up to go and meet him because he had the bottom of the step. Who was in front? Who was the first person presented the Prime Minister of India with a gift?
Zayden.
Who presented him with the gift first? Wasn't the young African boy?
Zayden, young Zayden, yeah.
So that, again, as much as the Prime Minister of India coming to Trinidad and Tobago and people who inferior with themselves, they had a conversation. But anybody who have common sense would know that the Indian population, that is a blessing to them. And if anything else, if anything supposed to hit you there as an African, if to you don't understand the economy, you don't understand his contribution, you don't understand that he's a third-time Prime Minister, you don't understand that the seat in the parliament that the speaker sits in was a gift from India. If you don't understand all of that, just the fact that the young African boy, if you want to just chisel it down to African, just the fact that the young African boy was given the opportunity to present the gift to Mr. Moody, why everything else we were supposed to hush our mouth by, but it's because of politics and because those who actually in charge. That is it. The whole heights is to continue. The whole heights is to continue to disrespect Miss Kamala. That is where they're trying to get to. But
yeah.
The whole heights there. We saw it over the years, so none of us can dispute it. It's not like we're not accustomed to that. But we just have to make sure that the brothers and sisters who are looking in from the outside understand that you as an Indian and I as an African, we just have conversation normal, on a normal day. The fact that they sat down on national radio and say all the Indian people just disrespect them, they need to prove that. They need to prove that. Because if you explain to us just the other day that all Indian people, they would explain on Iowa radio station, and then today you go on by an Indian person station to keep our program. It shows the level. So that's why I doesn't really want to talk about these things. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. We understand that unity is strength and strength is power. And the only group that continue to endorse and promote unity when you're talking about politics is the UNC. This is why the UNC, when you mention the UNC, you must mention the coalition. This is why when you're talking leadership in Trinidad and Tobago, you could say UNC, you could say the coalition, and you could say TPP proudly. Because collectively, all these groups is the leaders. And everybody is giving Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar her respect. Mind me, we have a coalition. This is different people from different groups. And they reach to the point that understand that this action have to be taken place. What could be done to help the youths? All right now the youths, them like the misguided. So let we start with targeting things that actually affecting the youths, like smoking. That is a real conversation. Yeah. So how could you target smoking? Adjust the age. Drinking alcohol. That is a conversation. How could you? So then you raise the age and then you hope the parents in the home actually participate with the rules and the regulation that is being installed.
Irresponsible.
That is it.
Irresponsibility is not only home. Because in training, I'm return and disciplining them.
That is
so the children running the street and going and doing all these things. But I want all these bars and all these gambling things and all these things to get total influence. The government be enforced on them, because let me tell you something,
Yes.
If you catch a bar owner or somebody selling alcohol to a minor, it would be 100,000 fine and 10 years in jail.
And is that?
And see how much that they straighten up. You can ask a child for your ID card to see what the agent and refuse them and tell them go. That's what they have to do, but they don't want it. They're too damn lazy.
Yeah.
Right? They say, oh, that needs to work, and they say, enforce the law, and they will see how fast they will comply.
And this,
that's what they have to do. Enforce the law.
This
right?
Is
with
what,
drinking,
this is what we
gambling,
want.
All of these things.
This is what we want. The government making the laws Mr. Alexander, like the Minister of Homeland Security, and Mr. Sturge, their responsibility is to make sure that the police service, because we know the police service have some shortcomings. We know this. So we have to make sure that the police service is well equipped. While over the period of time we heard that it have some rogue elements, Mr. Alexander didn't hide it from us. Over the years, we listened to the conversation. So now we must trust the process while we put the relevant structure in place. And my responsibility as a citizen, I must hold on to the persons who is not afraid to have the conversation.
I think, the police, I think they're rewrite a new constitution there, right? Starting from the top, go down to the bottom, a total revamp of everything that go on there. When you catch police officers involved in crime, immediate firing at them.
Yes.
Remove them one time. No second thought, no putting them on leave and all this sort of thing.
You might can't fire them. You might can't fire them one time, but immediate suspension with no pay. With no pay. Win your case and then you'll get a salary.
If they're found guilty, we remove them one time. Fire. Because in the States, man, you that make one mistake there, one time you're gone,
Yeah.
Don't go on, they're going to read put you on thing. What boy in days time you gone? And if you get to anything has gone one time.
And that you cannot do
right?
to do that in order to implement that. Your judiciary system must be functioning efficiently. We still have cases with people 17 and 18 years waiting on to see the magistrate. So we have a problem.
It's a long period, but at least it's trying to start from the youth level here with all these drinking and all these other things and gambling and all these other things.
You must, because right now, when you look at how some of the youths, not all, but how some of the youths are behaving, when you ask the address and then you realize, no, wait, it's kind of connecting back to the neighborhoods. And nothing I would say is not to take it in a negative way, but if you don't have the relevant information, it is impossible to make the right decision. It is impossible. We could sit down and speak that poverty is a state of mind, We could sit down and speak that. But when you look factually in the communities and there is no opportunities, well, then it makes that statement a dangerous statement. Because poverty is a state of mind if there is opportunity and it is not being utilized.
It's not a certain person singing color. So that's,
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And that same person, brother, was calling on private station for help,
Yeah.
And I asked myself, well, why the person, the California person can't help their brother? You understand? And I questioned the announcer, why you picking up money for the boy for? The family member should have been doing that to help him out. Huh? It's not doing the family member, he may be talking. That the person's brother,
That is the state of mind that I am trying to address. And this is what I speak about on a daily basis in Trinidad and Tobago. I grew up in Princeton. I spent some time well in Princeton. And we have a celebration that it used to have in this country. Well, it does have. And I watched this celebration. Some people talk about Diwali like Diwali is a roti celebration and an eating celebration. Diwali was never that to me. Diwali, to me, actually, the conversation behind it, the festival of light, going out and actually seeing the lights, who it is who actually celebrating it, having an opportunity to help them pull the diyas and light the diyas. That was actually an experience to me. And what's me up to now, look, my children are becoming adults and they have been given the opportunity to actually become stigmatized in this country. Now, mind me, as an African, let me just say, because that is the facts. Every Diwali, for some reason, we just have a major conversation in this country about the Hindu religion and the Hindu gods. And this does be coming from people who just tell you there is full gospel. So it does show me that way. If it is not your religion, it is not your business. This is one thing, we keep crossing the line. And then the next thing that also continue to affect me is not like we actually holding on then break down the actual structure of emancipation, the actual structure of slavery for me, please now. At least we'll bring that to me so as an African Trinbagonian citizen, I have something to hold on to. We don't even have a proper argument when it comes to where steel pan was made, whether it's Point Fortin or Port of Spain. And that's true. That is a factual argument. That is a factual argument that nobody could confirm to you that steel pan was made in Port of Spain or steel pan was made in Point Fortin. I met one of the oldest man in Port of Spain who was connected in steel pan, and I happened to meet one of the oldest man in Point Fortin, one of the oldest arranger in Point Fortin, and the two of them had the same story. The man from Point Fortin told me, yes, in Point Fortin they were dealing with the steel drums due to the oil business was on this site. So they get these steel drums. But he also remember going to Port of Spain and it had people with steel drums. But what it is, he clarified for me, while it had people with steel drums, Port of Spain was predominantly tambu bamboo. And the old arranger in Port of Spain, his story was the same. So the two of them agreed, although the two of them wasn't in the same place, the two of them agreed that they don't want to claim that steel pan was invented in Point Fortin, or they don't want to claim that steel pan was invented in Port of Spain. So let me leave it be. Steel pan is Trinidad and Tobago. You understand what I'm saying? That is it. But why saying it have too much information that the African, especially the African youths in this country don't have, and whether everybody under the struggle. And one of the things to make people navigate out of struggle is once you know where you come from.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And you see one thing with the African race in Trinidad, the white man or the slave masters take away all their culture and all these things away from over there. You know?
Yeah.
So you see, the Indians just came with their culture and they can have worship and do all these things. All they had to adapt to them one, which was, accepting a foreign god. So that is why you see, they lose contact with what they had in Africa.
And
had they been able to keep that, it would have been a different story, you know.
True. But here is
plenty people who have last name like Smith and all these other things, it'd be African last name,
No.
Just like all the Indians are the last name.
Now mind me, look how we just had the conversation there easy. Until the African community in Trinidad and Tobago decide to have serious conference and summits, to have these type of conversations, but we need to give the Indian brothers and sisters them a rest because based on what I seen, based on what I am hearing in this country, by all the people trying to do is educate the people and make them understand the value it is you feel. We don't know we are young Indian brothers and sisters who misguided and misinformed and doing rogue activities. We know this. This is why the history is important. So they could understand where they come from, understand the value thing wasn't easy for your family. As much as you might be watching one of your family and saying them is big shot, they had to work from the ground up because no matter where the story come from, the fatal, you must start it by the fatal answer. No matter where the story come from in this country, you must start it from there. And from there, we had a beginning. But a lot of people, and I am telling you this, the African community in Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have the information, and like everybody is afraid to start to ask for the, and look, I don't in the corner here, and I've been asking for the information because I've been seeing people playing dress up. I grew up as a young boy watching the same group of people playing dress up. And look at the questions I am asking as an adult. I live in America. I did a little bit of American history, so I could tell you about American slavery. I could talk about that, more about Caribbean slavery.
The East Indian businesses with the family, they sacrifice to the children. And when the children build themselves up, they build up their children coming. And so you see them prospering with commerce and becoming doctors and lawyers and all these other things.
Do something. Be the best at what you're doing.
Yeah, boy, sacrifice is a hell of a thing too,
That is truth.
You understand that?
Yes.
You sacrificing for children, and your children sacrificing for their children, and their children sacrificing. And that's why you see they build themselves from X to Y, Z. And some of them prosper with big business and all these other things now.
Let me just show Trinidad and Tobago something up here. One thing, right? Let me ask you a question. And you are Indian, not so?
Yeah.
And you support the UNC, not so?
Yeah.
All right. Why I ask you this question here now is to prove a point. The UNC is in power, and you as an Indian in Trinidad and Tobago have no problem explaining to anybody, because look, we up now. We're on a live show, and you have no problem explaining where the poverty come from, and you have no problem explaining that the Indian community continue to do their part and evolve as a people. This is what it is you just do. Now, mind me, I want to give you a bit now of PNM history. PNM is the one who claimed that is an African party. And when you look at the diaspora of African businessmen, how much of them was able to survive? How much of them that any African was able to boast about and they survived? Iowa people out the head, they shoot it down. Mr. John Jeremy, them themselves told us, a well-educated man, them called the man a dunce. This is African people in the PNM. This is what I'm telling you, the exchange. And the only reason why our people will do this is because we don't understand our value. We don't understand what Mr. John Jeremy supposed to mean to us. We don't understand that. So instead of actually teaching the young African that, the people who have the power to bring the teaching, they go quicker tell them now, Irvin is a lick African. You know where let's go?
Yeah.
And when they don't explain that to them, they will turn around to cuss about Mr. Moody coming to Trinidad and Tobago. They go cuss about the Indian man who doing business. They wouldn't study the Indian man who's struggling still and still trying to find a way, still organizing himself to organize to get businesses and all kind of stuff. They ain't bothering with it. They're comfortable with where he at, because that is where the majority of Africans at. And in their mindset, that is where all of us supposed to be. So when they see, especially an African walking with the head up high, he's a lick African. When they see an Indian person walking with the head up high, that Indian person racial, that Indian person wicked and bad, them don't like nobody. Give you a breakdown of why you're saying it, they don't know. They don't know why they're saying it. But the culture is embedded in us. Any African person who saw any form of progress in this country have been chopped down, chiseled, and grind to the side. So when I listen to you as an Indian brother, speak proudly about your community, this is what I try to encourage in mind. So brother, thank you very much that we're doing this thing in unity.
Yes, sir. We're not even Steve.
Yes, man. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, family and friends, you see where the conversation gone. But we must talk real talk, and look, we even pray yet. So this is real talk where we keep it real, we stick to the real points. Again, before we go forward, I want you to join me in a word of prayer, because we don't like to actually get down in major conversations without asking the Father to take charge. Heavenly Father, is your son, Irvin, and Father, I just want to ask that you guide and you protect. Cover each and every person representing here this afternoon, Lord. Father, cover their businesses, cover their going outs and their coming ins. Father, cover them on their jobs. Father, cover those in transit, wherever they may be. We say a special prayer for our brothers and sisters outside of Trinidad and Tobago. Father, I ask that you guide and you protect. You continue to order their steps. Father, we give you all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory. Father, today we're asking for each and every spiritual denomination in Trinidad and Tobago to rise up and proclaim your name. Father, we pray that every single person who have the authority to bring about the relevant support, Father, you give them the unction to function in the capacity that it is expected. Father, we ask that you cover our Prime Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister, Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessa. I say a special prayer for my Member of Parliament, Mr. Ernesto Raymond Kiza. I lift up our local government, Mr. Minister. I lift up each and every minister throughout this cabinet, Lord. Father, I pray that you just guide and you protect, cover their offices, cover each and every decision that is made. Father, may it be made on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So, Father, I pray that you encamp your angels around their children, around their marriages, around their businesses. Father, you just cover them, Father, and I pray for safety throughout our nation. Father, I pray no harm and no danger come upon the nation's children as they navigate through this holiday period. Father, I pray that parents receive the adequate support. I pray the relevant doors open that needs to open so that children accumulate their books for when the new semester starts. So, Father, I ask that you guide and you protect and you order our steps. I pray the spirit of racialism, the spirit of division that is trying to harbor its way, to continue harboring its way through our communities. Father, I pray you break it and send it back to the pits of hell. So today I call on the mighty men and the mighty women of God of all religion throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Come forth and proclaim the name of God. The people is waiting on you. Father, I ask that you just take charge. We give you all the praise, we give you all the honor and all the glory. Father, I ask that you encamp your angels around the studio, encamp your angels around my family, around the conversation. Father, you just continue to have your way and use us as instruments in your house. In no other name, but in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. And amen. Bless good afternoon. Miss Arima, bless good afternoon. Yolanda, bless good afternoon. David Singh, bless afternoon. Matilda, bless afternoon. Bless afternoon to everyone. Miss Arima, see where you put up here, where you say, I know Indian fight each other in the most brutal way. Yeah, that is it. And that is their thing. But we hear every creed and race, them not wasting time on we and a lot of people in this country under the impression that all the Indian on we. That is how them does do it. And African, if it is a fallout to them, African to African, they're making sure you ain't got work. They're making sure you can mind your family. No matter what position they're in, you put them right up in government or put them in the head of a village council. Once they have the power and the authority, they would make sure that you don't make a dollar to mind your family. I am living proof. I experienced it. I lived it. The whole of Point 14 could tell you about it. I am living proof. African to African. That is not a strange thing. So it seems to me that we could clarify today in Trinidad and Tobago that every ethnicity just hold down the ground and have the internal fight on the inside. So then none of us have no authority to be pointing. Since the most we could do is part it. That is all. If two African fighting and Indian people passing, the most we could do is part it. None of we have no authority to be pointing no finger at nobody. I watch people coming up and we having conversation. Prime Minister India, this Prime Minister India, that forgetting that Trinidad and Tobago had its own problems. The Prime Minister India already came with the relevant structure, with the relevant diagnostic. We thank him very much for greeting them young boys at the bottom of the step. We thank you very much for being in the function last week, Thursday. Thank you very much, Mr. Moody. But we have some serious business to get down to because over the period of time, brothers and sisters continue to play games in this country. Again, we continue to discuss CPEP is all kind of bacchanal, all kind of confusion, all kind of unnecessary conversation. And my responsibility, I have to remind Trinidad and Tobago. I must remind you, ladies and gentlemen, you see what it is we're going through and what we're experiencing. It started somewhere, and it have people now while it started. Let us boast on our responsibility to hold on to the history of Trinidad and Tobago. And the history of Trinidad and Tobago clearly shows and it states that the People's National Movement predominantly ran and governed this country. The most, and while they did that, brothers and sisters, we sit back and we watch because April 28th, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, not just the UNC and the coalition, not just Tobago alone, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we made a resounding decision that in Trinidad side, we voting for the United National Congress and the coalition. A resounding decision and ultimately, while my conversation continued to go on, based on how the results came out from elections and boundaries, it was very troubling to me. It was troubling to me to hear that the former Prime Minister was able to explain who won or who lost the election before the elections and boundaries. That was troubling to me. While my member of parliament, who at the time was waiting to become the member of parliament, while them was counting figures, the former Prime Minister had a big meeting going on with only PNM people and the media, as they normally do for the past how much years. They had meeting with only PNM persons and the media. And they were the ones who announced to the people of Trinidad and Tobago that the PNM lost the election. And the people of Trinidad and Tobago was left with that. I remember, if people feel the forgetting, the office in point 14, when I call and I tell them, look, the Prime Minister on the TV station explaining the PNM lost the election, them did not have a clue what's going on in the offices and them. So that is to show you the level of craziness that took place in this country. And while now we sit back and we talk about CPEP having unconstitutional contracts, they extend their contract unconstitutionally. They didn't allow the contract to run its course. They went behind closed doors. They didn't do it like how everybody does publicly do it. Because for some strange reason, they're trying to explain to you, look, UNC did extend contracts. UNC had to discuss their conversation. They was in government. It's they who installed the procurement legislation. So they had to have the conversation. The time just happened to fall election time. So they give all the contracts. PNM conversation today now is that, look, UNC extend the contracts when people had the opportunity to extend the contract because the time did come. The problem with PNM opportunity where they utilize the contracts and them had plenty time still. They had plenty time still and to ricochet the population from that because the people asking serious questions, to ricochet the population when it is our ministers and them asking relevant questions, to ricochet the population from that. They're playing racial games. Over the years, you see it. They can't file paperwork properly. They can't file paperwork properly. And they're sitting back and having conversation about Trinidad and Tobago, and they're talking about the people and talking about when you see Mr. Moody come to Trinidad and all these type of disrespectful comments that their supporters is putting out and acting like they're representing the entire African population. And when you look at the African diaspora of Trinidad and Tobago, the leadership of Africa, they're not saying anything about it. And they claim to be the scholars. So apparently when it comes to Trinidad and Tobago, it is okay to put down your foot as a PNM, as an African. Put down your foot because you want CPEP and need that in my life. As an African in this country, I am entitled to put my foot down. URP's mines. That is mines. But I who had the opportunity to have a close university that mature. Nothing wrong with St. Augustine. Full 100 respect with St. Augustine. Nothing wrong with that. But the problem is the generation of Trinidad and Tobago has expanded. Children making children now. And in the midst of all the violence, in the midst of all the argument, in the midst of all the poor governance, not one person in the former administration understood, and up to today, they don't understand the importance of the campus for UE in Debe. Up to today, they don't understand it. Up to today, they don't understand why single mothers needed support, why they needed a baby grant. They don't understand it. You know why? Because the majority of their supporters, they have been told living poor. They train and bred that way. Living poor is the way to live. When it's school books time, your responsibility is to look to line up and ask for support, ask for handouts, and not understanding when you, the people who you're going by and asking for handouts, those are the persons with the responsibility to set the structure so the structure could empower the people. Why would I be comfortable being unemployed? I am living in Point 14. Why would I be comfortable knowing fully well TSI, knowing fully well Kenson? These two companies do not belong to Point 14. They hold the two major labor contracts in Point 14, and they receive those contracts under the PNM. I have to ask the question on a daily basis. What did Theo Richards, local contractor Theo Richards, What is the qualification that these contractors have? Why, when something is being done in and this is so confusing. Princess Tongue dealing with that issue. Even the traffic warden structure, everything is just designed to be disrespectful. You take the traffic warden, those who living in Point 14, you send them Toko Manzalina. The Toko man, we have a man quite up in Toko with a newborn child. And how he walking in Point. He traveling from Toko to Point 14. Have to buy child milk. Still having a madam. So you go want to buy something nice for your madam. At least on payday, you go want to eat a KFC. And when you're eating a KFC, the same people who supporting the former administration telling you, when you get paid, after you done jam and rake all the weeks in the hot sun, all your hours you give them in the hot sun, and you as a parent decide by today's payday, and I love my children, and you go and you buy a KFC. I sit back on the radio and listen to them calling and say, CPEP workers good. Watch them, they get paid and all of them in KFC today. So they don't even want to buy KFC for all the children. And all the out and about marching with these contractors who was using a victimizing structure to make sure that you don't have, and they boast and say they use it as a political tool to make sure only PNM persons was employed. And when it's time for them to talk down on people, it's them that's be the one saying, don't study them only work in CPEP. Don't bother with she only work in URP. So it's funny and it's strange to me to see the same African peoples who are speaking down on the same African persons today running before the court. A bunch of lawyers, they say they are. When Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the UNC was in opposition, they disrespected the whole organization. A bunch of lawyers, they were the ones who put out content and told us Mr. John Jeremy is a dunce. They allow Faris to do it, who is not African. They allow Faris to do it. All of them sit down and talk their wickedness. Because Mr. John Jeremy understand that his responsibility is the responsibility of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. So if I was given an opportunity to serve under Mr. Manning, no problem. But were you telling me if Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar is explaining that this garbage that taken place, the level of corruption that have been spoken about when it comes to government organization, and you willing to help Mr. Jeremy, you willing to work on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Jeremy? Yes, miss. And Mr. Jeremy today sitting as the Attorney General, and they're still trying to convince Trinidad and Tobago, Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar and the Prime Minister of India focus on racialism. They're still trying to convince young African minds that Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar is a racist. The evidence don't state so. The cabineting state so. When they open up their mouth to talk, they ain't saying so. Jesus Christ. When the people and them making the delivery, they're not showing so. So then who are we? We are the people to hold on to the facts. And the facts is the people of Trinidad and Tobago have been used and abused and sidelined. We sit back and allow our government to borrow the most amount . They want to march now, Mr. Moody in Trinidad and Tobago. The fact that they cannot explain where over $144 billion was spent. who end up with high-rise building, who end up major roles, who live like movie stars. When press conference is being held and people want to find out where their money is being spent, your shirt button down to your navel. When the people at Trinidad and Tobago continue to ask the relevant questions and you didn't want to answer, you shove a prime minister down the people's throat. You shove a prime minister that not one party group in the PNM vote for. You try to give the people that bully your way through the PNM.
Not one.
Cuss up Mr. Manning. Bad talk you the cut. Sit down and live nice while you the cut there. You run through your 2 terms up to now, nobody ever lock up in you the cut. The synopsis of the former prime minister argument against Mr. Manning was unicut. The man took luxury in taking down his own African brother without factual data. He did it. He was an African leader. This is what he trained African people to do. And today it's spreading through the PNM. Especially my young African people of Trinidad and Tobago. Every day I must tell you the same thing. The Indian man is not your enemy. Listen to the content coming from, I want to bring it to Douglas to you. Listen to the information coming from this Douglas politics. This is Mr. Anil Roberts. Listen to our senator speak. Understand what is going on. The government ain't just standing up for India. Standing up for African people, We're standing up for African people. Listen to the conversation, and I want everybody to listen to the facts. We're standing for African people, right? Bless, good afternoon, caller. Right. We're standing for African people. And PNM have African people back. Right? That's the conversation. The fact is, the PNM has been the longest running government, and they announce, I grew up knowing this, them tell we PNM is an African party. When you check the business structure contribution in Trinidad and Tobago, the only thing they can tell you is that the Indian and the Syrian control that. And talk done. And from that, they run straight into a conversation to tell you all the reason why you ain't having nothing is because the Indian man has something. They ain't telling you all the Indian don't have it. They're telling you yeah. They ain't telling you. Sorry. They ain't telling you all the Indian enough. They ain't having them conversation. You see how my brother could call in as an Indian and let you know that the Indian society building, because he understands Indian people ain't feel the day. But while we at it, some people continuing to feel inferior. I'm telling you, the only thing that's bring about this is those Africans who feel inferior in the skin. They're not satisfied like how we Indian brothers and sisters could tell you that we are an Indian Prime Minister, which is Mr. Bazir Pandey, and we have Ms. Kamala Prasad-Bissessa, and we could call out Indian lawyers and things. African, we're not allowed to do that. If you even bounce your head, especially if you're wrong at PNM camp and talk about Butler and Butler contribution, boy, you'll be sidelined. You will be disbanded. Speaking about Butler and Butler's history around the PNM, and remember, Butler is African. And remember, we already agreed that PNM who displayed themselves as an African party. So the PNM supporters cannot actually function and boast about business. We can't do that. They can't do it. Let me just say all Africans is PNM. We cannot say that over the 50 years of PNM being in government, that we hold a major part when it comes to the business structure in Trinidad and Tobago. African people don't have that. We can't say that we could just go to the African communities and have African people that we know handling the level of things that actually playing major roles in the country. We're not allowed to speak about that. Sitting down and actually speaking about Mr. Williams, speaking about Mr. Dupre, speaking about somebody African like Miss Karen Nunez, the sheriff. But you're mad. I encourage you, please do not around PNM bring up the Dupre family. All these names I call in here is African names. I call in them names because that is the party who tell people that they were representing Africans. Yeah. Those were the people who say that they were representing Africans. But for some strange reason, all the African history continued to be suppressed. And the African man in Trinidad and Tobago is angry and like, we don't understand what we're angry for. Because the information continued to be suppressed. When the election was won April 28th, simple thing. The election was won April 28th. Blessed good afternoon, caller.
Blessed day, Mr. Felix.
What's going on? Brother?
I'm good.
Talk to me.
What I like to contribute to your program this evening is that is the reason why I changed from PNM to UNC is because the last government promised us local government reform.
Hey.
Tell us you need to pay so land tax and all these different things. And when we pay your money, there was nothing coming.
Nothing in exchange.
Nothing. They say they send out multi-million-dollar advertisement of what to expect, what will happen. We have all this done, paperwork done, everything done. All we now need is your money. And when the money comes, nothing. Nobody question that.
And then when people say, after the election, when the UNC questioned it, in both argument is they take the money and put it in a consolidated fund. Nobody never tell the people that was going to do that. They never said that.
Exactly. Nothing like that was said. And you still can't find the money in the consolidated fund.
So we come and end up with more problems.
More problems.
So basically the people get robbed.
The thing about it, I grew up in a PNM environment and household where this statement of race was always pointed out. But when I sit with my other brethren, because I went to school with Indian,
yes,
half white, half Chinese, I sit down amongst them all. And I never got that from my colleagues who I sat with.
Yes.
And it was strange to me that how could this be where I'm not experiencing this situation?
Thank you. And this is what a lot of people in this country not understanding. This is what a lot of them not understanding. They're preaching a doctrine that the Indian is our enemy, but the Indian is not showing us that. They're not doing that.
It's not showing. I have never encountered that. But we can't say it doesn't exist. It does exist.
No, we're not being naive. We're not pretending that people doesn't fall out. Let me be real. We're not pretending that people don't have argument in communities. Let me be real. But to say I just leave from Point Fortin and I visit in an area and just bounce up Indian people who just naturally venomous, I doesn't experience that. And the doctrine they're preaching is that Indian people are racial on the whole.
And that is the thing. I have a partner right now in England. He's a chef.
Yeah.
Right? He went across. He just break the deadline for before they shut down on the visa. And he going across there on a program as a chef. And he's telling me, he say the Muslim, because he's dealing with all different races and things. He say, Father, the Muslim, down to the Muslim woman, He said he cannot believe and understand. He said he will go up till they will come and say, we're going out for dinner. And when they say that, it's not he paying, they paying everything. Everything. He said when they in work, is our oneness. He said when it's time for prayer, just pull aside and they have to pray wherever it is, they praying and think. He said it's a different Muslim to Trinidad. I said, no, son. I said that is not the case enough. I said everywhere you will find the two groups. You will find those who far left and you find those who far right.
You know that?
I said them same type of Muslim in Trinidad.
Yeah. Right here.
You'll find that in Trinidad.
Right
You'll find it. You understand?
But it's even at a group of people who was representing using the Muslim name and they wasn't really Muslim and plenty people thought was real Muslim to it.
Exactly. Exactly. And we have to understand that you'll meet the two groups. There's no doubt about it. The two groups that exist.
Yes.
But you can't paint the whole group one way.
You just make a statement, all Indian racial, all African racial. I ain't taking that.
No. I can't live with that.
No.
What I living with now, brother, is the fact that you're supposed to run this place on an equal level for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody must have the opportunity to win. And you must show fairness in the way you execute this opportunity you have as a leader.
Yes.
And this is what I'm looking for. I can't deal with that arrogance. I can't deal with it. Have arrogance in UNC, you can see it. But I can't deal with a leader who is arrogant. I mean, everybody underneath it, go and beat it. If you have one or two arrogance in between, you can say, all right, she go deal with him later. Let him give him some time. You hang yourself. But leader is arrogant. You understand? And that's where we have to be watching how the woman govern the country, how she deal with issues. If she deal fair or unfair, if you get the whole story, just like the CPEP thing, there's half a story where everybody going home. When CPEP workers know, they just waiting for the time. They know that the bosses and them were doing them wrong.
They know that, so that's why I'm saying I don't understand why they were a part of that whole thing. I don't understand.
I always was questioning the thing that came up with the if you don't come to work, you go lose some money and take it. I said I still wonder if that issue. Election time, me and my aunt went out the road, and she working CPEP part-time and thing. And she see a fella. She say, what you doing here? He jumping up with them. She say, I thought you was UNC. Yeah, the fella. You know what they tell me? They tell me we can't get any money if we don't come out. So I just come out and I do my part, but you know why I'm voting for. So the thing was facts. I hear it with my own ears and see it with my own eyes.
Sense.
You understand? Yeah. So they know that the result telling you that was really happening.
Yes.
And we have to stop living under this bubble, under this racism, under this division. We as a nation need to pull together, because when we watch what's going on a worldwide thing, we need to open up our eyes as a nation and start a band with belly together. Because nations are sucking into the self and seeing about the self.
This is what I'm saying, right? The natural conversation in Trinidad and Tobago, when you're talking business, it's not we say this is content that the PNM put out. The Syrian and we Indian brothers and sisters, them control business. Look at the diaspora, the overlooked African people. We do not have anything and we have nobody else to blame other than our leaders. Our leaders did not put the relevant structures in place. And on top of that, up to today, the African man in this country do not understand his value. You maybe understand it. I probably understand it. But the amount of people who supposed to understand it, they don't. This is the only reason why you can get people to get the children to walk out in the hot sun with a government that makes sure the only opportunity for you is CPEP, URP, and Forest Reserve.
Yeah. I started up my small business.
Yes.
You know how much red tape jump through hoops it is to get a business account?
Partners,
to open a business account?
Partners, let me tell you something. I tell you, we are account to open. Problems, you kind of think the one that how much years statements, and you're like, man, no, looking to go and do a business. We're doing, man. No, sir. And then they're telling you about somebody you had to go buy and this. I said, but what kind of mad people thing is this? And me go like to tell you, we happen to meet the right person on the right given day. The only thing it cost us was to get the business up to date, meaning with taxes. But other than that, all the rest of things people show us, these things we can do for ourselves. Boy, this place crazy, boy. And we vex with other races. We vex with other races for doing it. We vex with the Chinese man for forming groups and encouraging themselves. We vex with the Indian man for forming groups and encouraging themselves. We vex with the Syrian for the same damn thing. When the opportunity is there for us.
Yeah. Is that fact?
Come on,
is that fact? We always like to throw the blame
on somebody
else. Everybody else, but who the blame be really supposed to be fall on the shoulders.
I watched a sister on TikTok last night. My jaw dropped. This sister had the dress up in African gong, you know, and listen to the questions they asking, because while they continue to play the racial political games, they notice this administration, the Prime Minister, Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, is no longer speaking about the 10% for public servants. And as my draw drop, and because I know I watch my partners, basic common sense, these people have the relevant information. They know that the UNC did not deliver the budget. In order to pay public servants, what the opposition argue for? At the time in which was the UNC who tell the people when given the opportunity, they would put the structure in place to make sure that they get the best. This woman playing games, trying to cause mischief in the country, trying to make people believe that the UNC is reneging on things that they said, when the only how the UNC could deliver effectively to the people, one is by having all the board signing, which is an issue that they're still dealing with, and number two, brother, we have to be real and reasonable, by look at the evidence. Look at the evidence, by
and these people still playing games. We don't want to be real with ourselves. We don't want to be real with ourselves. We ain't going to ask to bring back that $5 billion or $3 billion, how much billion, so we could pay your salaries. No. They ain't going to match for that. Bring back the money. They ain't going to match for that. But they want to match that she ain't bring she promises and she ain't do this and she ain't do that yet. The woman now sit down in office. The woman said bring her budget yet.
Yeah, with them.
The woman telling you.
Yeah, with them thought.
Here was sad. Here what make this Moody thing sad for me, right? I've been watching Moody, right? I've been watching Moody since for the last 2 years or so. Because I just watch a Indian newscast called First Post, right? Mm-hmm. So over the last 2 years, I've been watching Moody because it's a predominant, it's an Indian-based news thing, but the world reporting is more or less not biased per se, but they will be biased because it's an Indian-based, so they're more prompt up what the Indian agenda is. But Moody, from the last 2 years I've been watching, Moody has seen, before Trump come in office, Moody has seen he's a visionary. He has seen where the world is going to. Yes. And he has started connecting to all other regions and more so because he in the BRICS nations as well. So he has opened up the market. He is trying to open up the market in India to the world, right? Modi's biggest challenge is China, because the same thing China, he's more or less bouncing off of what China has done. Production, cheap production.
I wouldn't say he bouncing off our China have done. What happened is that I actually did the research. What happened is that the labor costs in China actually gone up, and India is the next lucrative market for labor. But India happened to be a qualified nation too, because India technology equipped and they're ready. So India happened to be the structure. That is the go-to place. That is the place right now.
But that was he doing the same thing like China in terms of opening up the market where come by us and we go make it for you. Yes. We could that's how China built it. We could make it for you. That is come true. By us.
That is true.
We are available to make it for you.
Yes.
So he's been doing that at least from my saying for the last 2 years, right?
Right.
Now he has gone all over the world, Africa, Europe. As a matter of fact, Europe just now open a free market agreement with them when Trump started to get them trouble. Yeah. So Europe now sign a free trade market with him.
Yes.
Because they need their products produced cheap. So they come by him, he open up, he sign a deal with them. That's why you see he not running down after America thing, because he's trying to open up all the other markets available.
Yeah.
So instead of going for a 1% market, he going for the 99% market outside it.
Yes.
So he going out there and he making his deals, right? Now here's the sad thing with this. India is 1 billion people, right? 1 point something billion people, right?
Listen, hold on.
We have something called...
Pause it. Listen what Mr. Arima put up. Black people is who always put this country on the world map. How much Indian did that? Let's talk. The number is 324-0844. Call in Mr. Arima. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah. So imagine India is 1 point something billion person, right? First post, which makes millions of views. Every newscast has been carrying Moody Travel.
Yes.
And has put a great heading for Trinidad in first post.
Yes.
So that is, say, 10 million people from India or around the world have watched first post and see Trinidad on the map now.
Yes.
Right? Say like we go with 10 million people, right? It could be more than that, right? We go with 10 million, right? Now Trinidad has been highlighted for 10 million persons.
Yes.
We have something called Carnival. If 2% of those people come to visit us for Carnival, think about it. The man has put us on the map. We're a news station, and we're just using small numbers, 10 million viewers every year, every day on this news, sir. If 2% of those numbers come to Trinidad for Carnival because we were just now highlighted and how it was received, what that does for our economy?
No, this now mind me. Let me explain something to you now. Remember, when you as a people, where your only vision for the people is to stick them in low-income jobs, right? When you start to talk about access, this is when people get to realize the value. This is why we continue to talk about Africans and Africans understanding the value. Because we could say what we want. The Indian man is making sure, our Indian brothers and sisters, the Indian community in Trinidad and Tobago is making sure that Trinidad and Tobago Indian understand that they have value and they came from somewhere. This ain't no handouts taking place here. Every Indian you see driving who you feel is a big shot is somebody who takes train. The only problem with it is that it happened in the African community, but it is wrong when we speak about it. When we speak about it, it's because the African man is a lick African. And then no, it is troubling to speak about it. Because remember, the words were spoken, Indian people had thing. Run up in the house, kick down the door, and take the thing. And look at the magnitude of acceleration that violence took off in a lot of those communities. So when you tell people to run up in people's house, that the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that the Indian man are thing in the house, or you go and take it. And why would you do that? Why would you do a next human being that? That is putting people's life at risk. And some people still under the impression that this whole thing is a plain thing, you know. Or we could turn this thing into an African Indian thing. This is disrespectful. Yes, it is unacceptable.
I think it have a statement that once it can't get something, you seek to destroy it. There's a phenomenon saying now.
Thank you much. Thank you much for your calling.
Have it.
Yeah, if you can't control the boat, you mash up the boat.
Yeah.
Caller, let me take this call. Thank you very much for your call, man. And blessed afternoon to you too.
You too, man.
Let's good afternoon, caller.
Blessed good afternoon, Mr. Felix.
Blessed afternoon.
So I love the conversation, right?
Yes, man.
So let me really ask yourself, do Trinidad really know what is racism?
That should be the question for real, you know. If we really understand what is racism.
Did the African own slaves and sell slaves to their own?
Caller, now mind me, if you're going down that road, because this is a piece of history that they don't like to speak in this country, you know.
Well, you see, they don't like the real conversation. You see, we living in a country in Trinidad where the majority is Indian and African, and yet still let's speak about racism.
Yeah.
Who you go to buy when you go to the shop?
Thank you.
If the Indian then appreciate who own the shops and the groceries and all that, you think they would have sell you?
Come on now, man.
You know when Miss Parker went on the bus and they didn't want you to sit in front of the bus?
Yeah, Rosa Parks.
You see, they don't know history.
Yeah.
That is racism.
That is racism.
You know what is racism? When you have a restaurant and a proper sign, no colored allowed.
No colored allowed.
That is racism.
Is racism.
But you see, what the 1% and the PNM government is play on is the division.
Yeah.
You see, when you divide the two major ethnic groups in a country, the well goes to the other. And let me give you an example. It are 3 dogs. One dog going to eat, and the next dog going to eat, and 2 of them start a fight, but the 3rd dog going to eat all the food. You fight.
Sense.
You see, people speak about diversifying the economy, but a lot of them don't really know what is diversifying the economy, you know.
Yeah.
Look when Mr. Moody come. You know where is Mr. Moody trend? Because I look at him and I look at a lot. He's not coming to build no skyscraper and build no roads, and then you own him money, you know.
That is not what the man. I mean, understand the visit, but that is what we are accustomed to. That is what we are accustomed here in years. If that didn't happen to we, something wrong. Mr. Moody come to do choppiness. That is what going on with them, brother.
And the Chinese will come and they will build roads and they will build, but they will owe them something. That is why we have to give them a street and call it Chinatown.
You have to take out your 2 eye and give them it. And still, watch my brother. Still, I can't vex with the Chinese man because the Chinese man doing business. Who we have in government at the time is them who cutting them foolish deals. That is why the people tell you voting have consequences.
And you know they won't stand up and fight for that the street get taken away, you know.
No.
Part of history going, you know.
No.
But I want to know if I am an African and I walk along the road, if an Indian will come and say, "What's you?" and start to attack me just so. No, that don't happen. When you're looking at cricket games and you're looking at football and you're looking at fete and you're looking at carnival, why you don't have a lot of fighting and division? You know who does be division? The 1% does be in VVVIP.
Yeah.
And eating and drinking for free.
Yeah.
Getting free tickets. And you daily dust jumping up.
And all we asking for is for we people, which is the majority of the people, which is Indian, African, the people at Trinidad and Tobago, to get the same opportunity so that we could go and work and buy VIP ticket too. We never tell nobody, we don't even want VIP ticket free. We just want the opportunity to accumulate resources legally, have respect for we brothers and sisters, make constructive and informed decisions, and brother buy we VIP ticket when it's cricket and football. That's what we trying to do.
Yeah, and let me give you an example, right? Mr. Moody come, we get laptops, they sign MOU for they get for prosthetic legs and for training.
Yes.
And steel pan going India to train people. But what the last PNM do? He invite an Indian leader, but take land from Panchin Bigu and want to give him it.
Let me tell you something. On social media here, I ball and beg about steel pan so much. Trinidad and Tobago, all they need to start to do this research. All they need to start to look back. When I started speaking about steel pan, and I brought back videos showing them, look, a man in foreign claiming the steel pan. All they look people claiming the steel pan. A man in point tell me, no, I don't stock. And this is what make me went and start to do my own research. And when I brought back the data and showed them, look at our man's claiming the steel pan. When they did and when they went and they started to investigate, the man pulled up his hand and he said, no, he ain't claiming steel pan. He claiming this particular steel pan. Now listen where the conversation come in. Seeing that what the man did was right and it was recognized globally. We have a conversation in Trinidad and Tobago where, for some strange reason, pan is really a Trinidad and Tobago thing. But really and truly, Papa, Tassa have a Tassa were created here. If you understand what I'm saying. So based on that argument and how they allowed that man to go with that steel pan, I think Tassa have a proper opportunity of being on the national instrument too. Because that one was created here. And if the Indian community asked for it, and they did. If they ask for it, well then, I push in a conversation because I love steel pan, and I don't know if you ever went and taken a good Tassa. I don't know if you ever went. If you never went, you're missing something.
Yeah, well, Mr. Felix, you see what you say there? What this population like? This population like to follow whatever the PNM say, and that is the gospel truth. Yeah. It had a man, I think his name is Marvin Gonzalez, whoever. He said he's gonna spread the propaganda, the gospel in every nook and cranny. He say that.
Yes.
And you tell me the people can't understand what he mean by propaganda.
They pretend.
We had an opportunity. And Mr. Felix, we had an opportunity to get the Afra exam bank here. And with the last Prime Minister say,
what is the explanation?
He said for taxes.
Hey! That is the excuse to get the African population for taxes. For taxes. You understand what is going on. No, I tell people. Go ahead, Kola. You go ahead.
Yeah, let me say, and these people know that opportunity will come from that to become entrepreneurs and own a business, be able. Look at Lavantil. You think you could take your property, your deed, and go to the bank and get a loan? That has zero value.
No value.
And they continue living like that, and they still want to fight and say the Indian. Listen, in times of need.
Listen,
if we have
I want to bring a piece of information to you just in case you don't know it, because I get confirmation yesterday. They sell the dream throughout Trinidad and Tobago for years. Indian people having everything. They get you with everything and everything is theirs. You know, yesterday a man had to explain to me and clarify to me. The Indian people who get a land from Caroni, they can't really do nothing with the land. They can't build nothing with the land. They can't really, basically, so you just have a piece of land that you don't have authority over. That is what we brothers and sisters dealing with. So while everybody was pretending that everything good in the hood with all the Indian in the country, them ain't even telling, but you understand the type of games that play. You understand that play. And all of this is to dodge from African who actually was sitting in authority to bring the support. Them dads from bringing the support to their own people, you know.
Yeah. And you know what's the sad thing? After all of us studying, CPEP workers is just so important to them.
All of
for
a
the
sudden,
past 10 years, for the past 10 years, it wasn't important. Load up in a maxi and go to what I say again, no work. And then they have records on hindsight playing on that what people say they play the recordings and the videos.
yes.
And even people say that and now the CPEP work is so important. Because you know why? CPEP people love PNM to use them like a political football.
Yes.
And use them.
Yes.
And then they will come. But Mr. Felix, I love this conversation. Let me make room for somebody else to call and have a good day.
Thank you much, caller. Thank you much. Thank you much.
Yeah.
Yes, man. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Real Talk, where we have real talk. I just want to encourage you as you come up. We reach the point in Trinidad and Tobago. Everybody have a responsibility to themselves. And we must understand that all of us have value. So if you as an African, you have all the information and you still feeling inferior because you refuse to hold on to the facts, don't vex with me as a young African who decided to bypass your doctrine because I went and do my own research too. I understand everybody had their own shortcomings. We as Africans and all our shortcomings. But we just don't like to talk about weird. We don't even like to talk about Africans who are doing good. And that is part of the problem. So until we reach to the point that I want to ask all Africans, let's stop teaching all the children that the Indian man is all the problem. The police is, if it's not the Indian man, it's the police. If it's not the police, it's the Syrian. If it's not the Syrian, it's the Chinese. If it's not the Chinese, it's somebody else. Everybody else is the fault. And nobody not understanding voting seriously have consequences. Not because you vote and you went back to church Sunday, that means that you did not make a decision to participate in dotishness. Voting have consequences. And we participated in voting with a particular group for the longest. And they were able to harbor and install doctrines that is not valuable for the average person. You can't vex with the Indian man because he saw through it and make up your mind that he's not teaching each other and that. So you're not seeing what's going on? How come an Indian in the PNM could tell you that she have 100 strong Indian? She have 100 strong Indian to fight for the PNM. So what happened to the Africans in the PNM? Because the only thing that PNM is discussing, listen to the difference. They having a serious fight when it comes to CPEP, URB, and forest reserves. When Ms. Kamala spoke about the UE, they have an argument about that. They talk about laptops, there is an argument. Talk about old age pension and prime minister receiving pension. Don't deserve it. Them have a problem with them thing. Everything that connected to the people, everything that the people could save $1, that is not in the structure of the PNM, and that is the fact. And that is so sad that we continue to play games while we have serious things going on. Let me be real. Look at what violence has escalated to under the PNM. Were you telling me in my first year, by the completion of UNC first year, based on what it is I am here in my responsibility, I do in my program? This is why on a daily basis, ladies and gentlemen, all you know is expensive what it is we doing here. So brothers and sisters, all you feel free to reach out and bring the relevant support. Because at the end of the day, we must continue to speak the truth. And the truth is that the Indian man is not our enemy. The Syrian can't be my enemy. The Chinese man can't be my enemy. I have a government right now who is not afraid to speak to all of them. So they could never be my enemy. If we're doing business, well, then we're doing business. And I hire Ms. Kamala Posad-Bissessa and the United National Congress and the coalition to do a job. So once them afraid to go and have a conversation with whoever it is that had to have it. You see what going on? Honestly, I think my Prime Minister made the right decision. Right now, we are in the middle of making some serious decisions right now in Trinidad and Tobago. So, Mr. Foreign Affairs, you head out the road and you handle the business on behalf. You represent us in CARICOM. The reason why the people voted for you, the reason why I installed you. And this is Ms. Kamala Posad-Bissessa talking about. you will go out and handle the CARICOM meeting. The PNM have no responsibility or authority to tell us that the Prime Minister not going to the meeting. Were you telling me Rowley went to the meeting and he didn't have an oil deal? All we CARICOM partners, they didn't have no business going on with. So what they were really doing? So now is the safest thing to do instead of taking the Prime Minister out of Trinidad right now. Let me send my brother now. Let me brother go with the delegate and his responsibilities to clarify to them. I am 100% sure. No, the UNC is about business. UNC is about business. So if we haven't business meeting, well, then the next one, the Prime Minister would be there. She couldn't make it in this one because we have some things going on. And based on CARICOM activities with the former administration, we are gambling this one. We are gambling this one. CARICOM sit down and take a man who was in the middle of it. CARICOM sit down and take a man and put he as a magistrate. The man was in the middle of the Paria diving bacchanal. From there, he worked his way straight to Attorney General. Mind me, this man was in the Paria diving inquiries. You know. This is Mr. Amoa talking about. You know. That man worked his way from there straight to the Attorney General. From there, he ended up in the court. What kind of madness is this? And what it is on the film of Prime Minister we vote for old dog and mama guy? Oh? This is why she have people go there and deal with them fellas and them. Let them know that we always ready to do business. African people help put their own where they will put them. This is African people help put them there and they will put them out of where, Arima? What are you talking? You still talking politics? Is representation we talking? It's an election coming in. Arima, is that what's going on with you? Listen, to all the PNM persons that is up on the page, elections are over. April 28, the people of Trinidad and Tobago resoundingly vote for UNC and the coalition. Arima, just in case you don't know, if you visit Tobago right now, Tobago is run and governed by the TPP. Just in case you don't know. So we're not talking politics, Arima. We're talking representation. We're talking, we government understand that the refinery have to open. We government understand that the schools have been asking for support. The government also understand that the school buses was not paid. Let me see if we get this call here. Bless good afternoon, caller.
Yeah, bless good afternoon again, Mr. Felix. I just want to rebuttal with a person right there.
Doctor, man.
So tell me, why in schools, who does be fighting each other?
Doctor.
Who does be shooting each other?
Doctor.
So you telling me a race, the African race, learn to hate themselves? And then you talking that nonsense. Whoever write that comment is nonsense. Look at the facts and the statistics. All the fighting in school, they fight each other. The murders, who's the most murders amongst each other? So why they hate each other so much? And that is the question we had to ask ourselves. We had to start to think more critical and start to ask a deeper question.
We don't have the value for ourselves. I am telling you. A man come up the road with Rowley the other day, half his shoulder outside, respect your dress code, and we get 4 yam. And they spoke about some embargo deal to fly from Trinidad to Africa. Nobody talk nothing about opening up the country to revenue. Nobody talk nothing about that. And then they went off to drink while they had their supporters in the hot sun. The African man don't know his value. We don't know it.
And let me give you one more thing before I leave, Mr. Felix. They had a minister who was sitting in his car and he looked at another individual who looked like him and he was looking for the pipe in him. And when he asked for $20, you know who was that man? I don't want to call his name, you know, because I don't want it to.
Come on. And there's so many others.
Yeah, he said he's looking for the pipeline, man.
Yes. That's what they're looking for.
And
that's what they train the supporters to do. Look for them things. Not look for betterment in themselves. Not look for a better community. Not look for a better family, a better marriage. Don't study to turn your community, your neighborhood into a community. Nah, don't do that.
And true, and you know what's another thing, Mr. Felix? Why school children going to school to learn to educate themselves, but they always have to outbrand each other? If you have an Air Force, cost 1,000, you are a Jordan, cost 2,000. School is not fashion. School is to learn. And this is something we have to get out of the children's head.
Yes, yesterday, I had a conversation about it. Over the years, because I am a part of PTA, over the years, I listen to the conversation. In some of the schools, the children and them have the adequate books, pens, the relevant things so that they could get these studies. And the conversation is that the parents don't have. And in a lot of cases, you are somebody who trying to help out. You can't condemn that. You always have to keep the door open for that. But when you look at how these children step into graduation, it make you wonder if these parents and them for real. Why would you take all this money to invest for graduation, and along the way, when it was time to buy pens and books and the school asking for basic support, you didn't want to send it?
No, but Mr. Felix, this is why some people have generational wealth and others don't. You spend your money on unnecessary things and you do not put aside money for a rainy day.
True.
And for your future generation.
True. That is so true.
It's better you walk and live in a house that don't leak than drive a BMW and you're living in a house where you have to use an umbrella. All right, Mr. Felix.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much.
Man.
Once again, I must say good afternoon to each and every one of our brothers and sisters tuning in, listening to 640 Television Real Talk, where we continue to deal with real issues. My brothers and sisters, I want to bring all our video here, but our audio here from my brother Douglas Politics. You know, we are some racial people, so we just want to run Indian content now. You know, that's taught. Some of them don't understand that Indian people is people too. They don't understand that. But either way, so let me bring all our audio here from a Douglas partner. But a little bit with them, Trinidad and Tobago is a multicultural place. We have different spirituality here, and our responsibility is to train our children to respect other people's spirituality. This is what it is about. We have no reason to be disrespectful. There we go.
5,000 people died. Why? Because you failed to secure the border. You shut out the whole country. Citizens couldn't come home. You closed down open fire cremation. But 5,000 people died. Stop claiming it was a success.
Now, mind me, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Anil Roberts, our senator in the Ministry of Housing. And Mr. Anil Roberts is having an overall conversation. Over 5,000 persons died. It's not only Indian alone. So as soon as the PNM supporters understand that when a government say 5,000, it's not like the PNM, only PNM 5,000. When Anil Roberts calling figures, he calling overall figures. When you hear the Attorney General mentioning a problem in Trinidad or mentioning something that is going to be delivered in Trinidad, is everybody. When you hear Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessa mention something for or about the people in Trinidad and Tobago, is everybody. So we just clarifying that today, when it is you continue, this is to our PNMites, brothers and sisters. When you hear this administration speaking about 5,000 and they're talking about the people, they're speaking about everybody. Okay, I just take that out of the way. Let me go again.
Really irks every citizen of this country. That is really unfortunate, and I beg you all to stop it. I am glad Senator Foster Cummings, I am sure former principal of Fatima College, the honorable former president of Tutor, the former minister of education, The Honorable Anthony Garcia would love that you refer to him as young in that youth program. I'm sure he was listening. Senator Foster Cummings stood there and I was sat in amazement. There's one of two things, Senator Cummings. I took your presentation in word for word verbatim. I don't think you were being disingenuous. I could see some passion and some heartfelt feeling about your trials and tribulations. Well, very hard to sit in a government that treated our nation's children so badly, because you sat in a cabinet that took away laptops. They took 6 million down to 285 million. They took away computers, they took away textbook, they took away food card from people, they took away school feeding, cut it from 76 meals per day down to 48,000. They took away pan in schools. They took away support to they cut funding to UTT, COSTAT, MIC. They took grants from the differently able. They took baby milk grant and they kept the children's hospital closed. These things must have pained you to sit in that cabinet in a government that hurt people like that. Because if I am to take you at your word today, I would believe that you would not want to be on that side anymore, that you could not stand to be in that PNM, that you could not fathom to be in a government that treated people and citizens so poorly, that produced and pushed a philosophy of a new society, wean yourself off the government. So I understand and I feel your pain, Honorable Senator Foster Cummings. Senator Faris Al-Rawi, he stated conclusions today. It was amazing. Conclusions about Venkat from a report that he had not seen, quoting that the report came to conclusions that he never read. This is an amazing place to be in a Senate where people could just come here and debate anything that pop in their head. And then after that, he's...
Now, what it is Mr. Annie Roberts is saying there, this is what Trinidad and Tobago have to understand. This is the joke and the game that the PNM play. Right now, we're dealing with a group of people, right now, who they are accustomed, them is these PNM mites. What they are accustomed doing is talking like they know what to do. This is what the PNM did over the years. This is what Mr. Annie Roberts pulling up on them with there right now. They just speak like they know exactly what they're saying, like this is book, chapter, and law. And all you have to do when you go down in the book, they're not sticking nothing close to the book. So I'm dealing with some matter like that right now down on my level. And if this thing is up, right up to the top, what level of note is this really going on in this country? But you know, I have to show you where this bacchanal start. I have to show you which part they start. Because here what happening? We sitting down here and playing games while all the information is before our eyes. Hold on, let me see if I can get this video here. Look at this crazy man here. Let's go with that there. Hold on. Let me run this here.
New chapter for TNT, where red
are these. I will tell you what they are not. They're not of the ilk of the PNM. Because I, as leader of the People's National Movement since the 9th of September 2015 as Prime Minister, I always told my colleagues in and around the cabinet, you are privileged and should be honored to be a part of the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago, but for God's sake, don't fall in love with office. And it is because that is the principle that the PNM follows why I could walk away from the office of Prime Minister and support the strongest member of my cabinet to be your Prime Minister in Trinidad and Tobago. And tonight,
I had to bring it this year. I just run that one preliminary to bring it this year. Let me show you this. This man is a madman.
that I may be moving away from office in the PNM, but I'm not moving away from my commitment to Trinidad and Tobago.
Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley addressed the People's National Movement Special Convention for the last time as Prime Minister on Sunday after formally revealing the party's 41 candidates. He said he's proud of the slate of candidates put forward by the party and had some words of advice.
Election is due any time. All the way down to November, it's due. You might even have it for Christmas. But just remember,
I want to tell people on this live here, you see while I was listening to that conversation with the former Prime Minister and then people lining in the back there, people were being murdered in this country by the 15s and the 16s on a weekend. Murders even reach up to 27 a weekend. This man who's speaking here right now,
if we do not win the next election,
this man was the head of the National Security Council of Trinidad and Tobago. This man had the finances, had the resources, and an entire team backing him. And while the people of Trinidad and Tobago was crying out, not just for crime, we were crying out for adequate sidewalks. We were crying out for jobs. They cut food cards. Ladies and gentlemen, they restrict the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago from every form of support, every form of structure that has been installed by former governments. They reach so far and nearly take the pension. And listen to this arrogant conversation. After being the only prime minister, this was the official day this man abandoned the people of Trinidad and Tobago. If they have a party group could explain to we in this country that they voted for Mr. Stuart Young. So no one man have no authority to put no one man in government. You just have to ask the logical question, Trinidad and Tobago. Was Stuart Young ever the political leader of the People's National Movement? And if the answer is no, well then them need to explain to the people what structure they used to put him there. But I want you to listen to the piece of arrogance and disrespect that was spoken. And these jokers still asking how point 14 a vote for PNM.
all that our portion will be is an opposition leader and 6 opposition senators. Everything else.
The party and had some words of advice.
Election is due any time. All the way down to November, it's due. You might even have it for Christmas. But just remember, if we do not win the next election, all that our portion will be is an opposition leader and 6 opposition senators. Everything else would have gone to the next government.
Dr. Rowley also criticized the opposition leader for the party's next move to appoint the next prime minister, saying that her attempt to stir up hatred has failed.
But coming and talking stupidness now about going to court, because instead of dealing with her ragtag army of ne'er-do-wells, she's concerned about Stuart Young becoming prime minister. She had to be concerned. She has to be concerned. And of course,
Ironic, eh? Ironic, eh? Ironic how all of a sudden we complaining. All of a sudden now they're complaining about going to court. And when people were speaking about using the structure for the right thing, they complained about going to court. But now, when they was in power and they closed Petrotrin, Miss Camille Robinson Regis, Miss Penelope Beckers, Stuart Young, not one Marvin Gonzalez, not one of them wanted to take their government to court. Not one of them was displeased. All of them was comfortable. All of them was satisfied that the people of Trinidad and Tobago had to sit back and take this strain. And this is what they support, poverty. This is what they encourage. I want to bring all you something now from Mr. Clyde Elder. Listen to the words coming from our minister.
Rohini Ramkison's judicial review lawsuit against Imbert. Mohammed ruled that Imbert's decision not to recommend Ramkison, who held the post as acting commissioner for the position, was unlawful and quashed it. According to the evidence in the case, the legal dispute began shortly before former BIR chairman Ravi Taklal Singh proceeded on pre-retirement leave in January 2021. The finance minister's permanent secretary wrote a memo to the director of personal admin seeking approval for a then acting assistant commissioner to be appointed to the post.
Now, mind me, what Mr. Clyde Ella is explaining to you here, this is police business. This is commissioner. Listen to the names being called. Listen how dangerous. This is why the PNM couldn't pick a commissioner of police. This is why every commissioner of police is a problem and was a problem, especially under the former administration. It's because they themselves want to handpick the persons. And I am here to remind Trinidad and Tobago that is an illegal structure. That is wrong. Notice we have a commissioner of police under the UNC since Mr. Roger Alexander has been anointed and appointed as Minister of Homeland Security. You notice we got a commissioner of police with no argument. He off to work minding his business. That is when a government is working for its people, not a government working for itself. Listen.
Agreed by the decision, as her colleague had less experience than her and her fellow 3 commissioners, Ramkison's lawyers wrote to President Paula May Weeks questioning the proposed appointment. After the president's office indicated she had not made the appointment, the permanent secretary indicated that the memorandum would be rescinded.
This is one of the major reasons why the president had to go. I wonder if you understand what we're doing. How much still Miss Paula May Weeks did?
In February, Ramkison was called to a meeting with the permanent secretary and Imbert, in which she was told that the meeting that is, was an interview for the position. What? During the meeting.
This is the finance minister interviewing people for acting commissioner and all kind of thing. Listen conversation.
During the meeting, Imbert allegedly questioned her by the division's criminal tax investigation unit into value-added tax refunds to 2 taxpayers. What? We have the investigation, but denied any wrongdoing, as she indicated that no allegations were levied against her. Ramkison was informed she could not be recommended for the post based on investigation. Attention to, in deciding the case, the judge ruled that Imbert did not act fairly, as he only asked Ramkison if she was aware of the investigation. She was not told that she was a person of interest or informed of the specific allegations against her, which caused the defendant to be concerned, Mohammed said. She was not allowed to address the defendant's concern for denying her.
Hands on in the matter, you know. Hands on, name, write down everything in the memo. Listen.
Position, and therefore not treated fairly and denied natural justice. You know, Mr. Speaker, I wish I had finished the article. Mohammed also ruled that Imbert acted irrationally in handling of the interview. In my opinion, there was no evidence that the defendant considered that the persons who were involved in the approval of the payment of the tax refunds were persons other than the claimant, and that the CTIU was still conducting inquiries where it did not name the claimant as a person of interest, she said. Mohammed rejected claims from Imbert's legal team that Ramki Soon's case was academic, as she could not be reconsidered.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
For the position because she reacted.
Standing Order 49, the member obviously does not know, is new. That matter is under appeal. It is therefore sub judice. It is sub judice, Mr. Speaker. It's under appeal. And I
just needed Mr. Imbut to interject here. I needed to hear that, right? This is the matter that Mr. Imbut had to come back in Parliament and basically apologize for. Because he stand up and he cut across the minister while the minister was making his address. And he explained that the matter is still before the court. Now, this is just me explaining to all the PNM people. Mr. Arima, let me explain something to you. All you're fighting for PNM to continue controlling Trinidad and Tobago and so forth. Some people think and some people fighting that, right? But here what I say. Here what I say. Mr. Imbut was the Minister of Finance. And you could say that he is one of the longest running Minister of Finance that Trinidad and Tobago saw. He is. He have the years, he have the reputation. Listen to the problem what Mr. Imbut come and end up with. Mr. Imbut explained to the Parliament. He shut down the minister in the middle of the minister's statement and explained to the Parliament, which is us talking to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, that matter is still before the court. Now, that matter Mr. Imbut is speaking about is a matter that government money paid for, taxpayers' dollars paid for. Mr. Imbut hire a legal team, have the legal team utilizing taxpayers' dollars, and he wasn't even being updated as the minister. He wasn't even being updated. He did not even know that the matter was finished. He stand up in Parliament and spoke positively. Positively. 10 years, no vacation. Based on how the people of Trinidad and Tobago is unable to identify where $144 billion go, I wouldn't have taken vacation too. Had I been Mr. Imbut? If you have questions when the average person asks, you know what's sad and dangerous about this? While they were implementing and practicing all this wickedness, they could have paid the diverse family. They could have do some of these schools. They could have at least set up social programs. They could have at least raised the money for the differently able brothers and sisters. They could at least do that. They could at least give CPEP a raise. This is while they watch all of us, because they basically watch all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago with the middle finger in the air. It's nothing for all you. We done chain up the thing already. All the people here don't know that PNM is an African party, and they don't know nothing for African. That is exactly what was displayed. That is what the people were left to live with in this country. And today we totally displeased because other groups talking equality, other groups talking low crime, other groups talking about upliftment, other groups talking about differently able, other groups talking about policing. And my conversation is to remind you, there is not no other group to me. Miss Kamala Posad Sabina Indian in Trinidad and Tobago, there is no other group to me. When I look at my ID card and I look at her ID card, there is no other group to me. We might not have the same here, might not have the same texture. We might even live in the same place. Matter of fact, we might arrive at different times. But you know what the two are we saying? Together we aspire, together we achieve. Two of us have enough sense to know, which you have enough sense to know, that here every creed and race finds an equal place, and may God bless our nation. So I have a responsibility to understand that Ms. Kamala Prasad says, that my people's too, man. David Lee, that is my peoples too. Miss Khadija Amin, yes. Them is Journaling John, them is my peoples too. Philip Edward Alexander, guess what? That is my peoples too. Where you're telling me, together we aspire, together we achieve, and if those persons come together collectively to form a government to guide the people of Trinidad and Tobago off of this plantation of destruction that PNM has designed for us. If our administration don't just now, Lily. Yeah, Miss Kamala Prasad Bisesa, if her and her entire team understand that this ain't no one race thing, this is a Trinidad and Tobago thing. My responsibility is to hold on to the group who understand that. My responsibility is to encourage you, Trinidad and Tobago. We are in this together. And I must remind you, the Indian man is not your enemy. He is not your enemy. You know no gas for this government from Guyana. That is where you wish. Again, lack of research. Again, same ignorant dunce talk. Why we just do this? And as African, we quick to call everybody dunce. Why? Have you been reading what actually going on with Guyana? Guyana had to put out a statement when people like yourself, Miss Arima, was making mischief in the house and telling the world that Miss Kamala say that she going and get gas from Guyana. Guyana gas structure ain't even developed yet. Guyana don't have the mechanism to utilize their own gas. You in the middle of a conversation explaining to people that Trinidad and this government ain't go get no gas. Like Guyana concerned who bring the US dollar. Whether the US dollar come from a PNM government or whether it come from a UNC government, Guyana don't care who bring the dollar. You have the dollar to pay for the product we selling. This is what we are about. We as a people need to start to understand everything cannot continue to be race. Same dotish PNM trickery again. Look at the comment up here. Look at the comment up here. Miss Arima, eventually they will stop you from coming on my page. You don't practice dotishness here. This is being as ignorant as the back of a spoon. Did you go and do the research after you all practice all that garbage? So then why Guyana wouldn't deal with Miss Kamala? Because she's an Indian. Come on. Come on. Let me be real and reasonable now, man. Trinidad and Tobago all need to understand the level of doctrine that the people of Trinidad and Tobago is navigating in it. We have brothers and sisters who are inferior in their skin, and their responsibility is... Oh, she not on WhatsApp. Oh. These people are inferior in their skin. And the fact that they are inferior in their skin, their responsibility is to make everybody feel inferior. But what you telling me about? I know about emancipation. Trust me. I know about emancipation. But I also know about Diwali. I also know about who say. So don't feel you get me to have no conversation about my Muslim community. The right thing is the right thing and the wrong thing is the wrong thing. Racialism has been practiced, it has been portrayed, it has been displayed with political groups in this country. And until those groups say that they are sorry, the people of Trinidad and Tobago needs to mind their business. I want to know when my local contractor, when Theo Riches is going to be given an opportunity to control one of those labor contracts. When CDAT, when Demas, when Hydrotech, when these local contractors that belong to Point Fortin is going to be given an opportunity to run and govern the labor aspect of Point Fortin. Cool Running say the CPEP workers will get back their jobs. Well, based on the figures, based on the amount that goes gang, it look like CPEP workers might work for real. Because we cannot go forward and expect the government to endorse and leave all the people who have been waiting for work. So based on the amount that goes gang, it look like plenty of them CPEP people and them go get back their work. Pearl Sammy, blessed afternoon. Anthony, blessed afternoon. Solomon, blessed day, blessed day. This is craziness, school runners, pick up yourself. Based on the amount that goes gangs, we understand what's going on. Now, we're not taking on that PNM. We're not even wasting that time. We're not even wasting that time. This is why my responsibility is done after 2 is 2:05. And before I go from here, my responsibility is to ask you to make sure and stay connected to our Prime Minister's page. Stay connected to your especially a Member of Parliament page. And those of you who live in the ticket, stick to those who actually run in the country's page. Mainstream media is still playing games, so we're not accepting that. To tell you what comes from Miss Kamala's mouth is Miss Kamala's mouth. The best person to tell you what is on Miss Khadija Amin's mind is Miss Khadija Amin. The best person to tell you what's going on. My responsibility is just to repeat it. This is why before I repeat, I'm making sure and bring the audio for you. So when I'm telling you, the UNC government is hot on the trail. The names in Point 14 and don't call yet. It have activities that have been practiced for the longest. And this government explained that they are going to weed it out because the people of Trinidad and Tobago needs the relevant support. And we standing with our governing authority. Side by side, we stand as a people, as a unit, as a team. So I'm saying, bless good afternoon. Before I go from here to my Indian brother, bless good afternoon to my African brother, bless good afternoon to my Syrian, my Chinese, my Spanish brother, whatever ethnicity that we have here in Trinidad and Tobago. Wait this, so Spanish Army control. Wait this. So Spanish Army control the waters. Okay. So as we continue to speak, brothers and sisters, the government of Trinidad and Tobago have a responsibility to Trinidad and Tobago. And as of April 28, we, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, we continue to stand by our Honorable Prime Minister, Ms. Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and each and every one of our representing factors. We begin up all corporations that is being run and governed by the United National Congress, and we having hope in all the corporations that is still being under duress by the PNM support. So again, people of Trinidad and Tobago, we have things to do. We have relevant structures to put in place, and we continue to have a part to play as a people in Trinidad and Tobago. Again, together we aspire, together we achieve. I continue to tell you, the Indian man is not your enemy. He is not your enemy. If you live in an area that has been predominantly run, when we're talking central government representative, local government representative, if down to your councillor and all was African, well then nobody have no authority to tell you that the reason why you don't have nothing is because of the Indian population. Lovely. Lovely. We have a lot of things to put in place, so you just fix the work properly, and it's that. And it's that. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, family and friends, again, today is Wednesday, the 9th of July. And I want to thank each and every one of you all for tuning in, for viewing, for Real Talk. I want to encourage you, those of you who haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the
But I may be moving away.
we come up, you get the relevant update. Brothers and sisters, you stay connected to the page. Again, it's your boy Irvin. I am actually the co-host of 640 Television. My lovely wife play her part. The children, they play their part. And brothers and sisters, our responsibility, and as we encourage you, being a good person is not an option, but that's the only thing to do going forward in this society. So I want to encourage you to be good. The slogan here is each one help one, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So as much as I encourage you and ask you to pray for the governing authority, asking you to pray for each and every household, every child throughout Trinidad and Tobago, because each and every one of us have a responsibility to play a positive part in our nation. And I encourage you as we go forward, let us be good. Let us thank God for Jesus, and let us continue to lift up each and every spiritual denomination so that brothers and sisters continue to play their part, continue to uplift their spirituality, continue to motivate their people, because this thing here, this thing is about love, this thing is about respect, this thing is about unity, this thing is about Trinidad and Tobago, and we cannot do it with one race alone. So you have no reason to feel down if our Prime Minister is an Indian. I am proud. Here every creed and race finds an equal place. So until we meet again tomorrow, please, the Lord, you know it's real talk. It's your boy Irvin. Between the hours of 12 and 2, remember you're tuning in to Douglas Politics, ladies and gentlemen. Remember when the morning break, you're tuning into the ground report with our brother Andy and the team.
If I tell you, just look at me smile.
I'm encouraging you, know, from 12 to 2 is the boy Felix.
I do them right.
Again, I want you to keep in tune. Make sure you stay our brother Opinion Box does be doing his thing, and I want you to remember, please, ladies and gentlemen, we brother Builder Boys and all, he playing his role when it comes to your construction conversation. If you're doing a little work and you don't know, you could always ask here a question. You just take liberty in explaining to brothers and sisters, and there are so many others. But I want to encourage you, let me stay focused and let's stay blessed until we meet again tomorrow. Please, the Lord, is all your boy Irvin. I love all you, sending out some love to my member of parliament and his entire team. Christy, big up yourself. Mr. Plenty, everybody, Beach, everybody, big up all yourself. To my UNC family, nothing but love, love, love. Coalition team, nothing but love. Trinidad and Tobago, bless. TPP family, all you bless. The Caribbean, big up all yourself. The entire world, Trinidad and Tobago. Together we aspire, together we achieve. It's all your boy Irvin, and I thank you all for tuning in, for viewing, for listening with us. And all you know how it go. You know how it go. I am out. Thank you.
I'm just a man.